Welcome, Alex Liddle, to On the Road with LinkedIn here in London. Alex, you are a newly appointed sales director at PwC. You have a huge amount of experience in both sales and business development. I also know that you love technology and how it plays with sales, so I'm excited to chat to you about that today.
What an introduction. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's talk a little bit about what's going to happen in the next few years. How do you see this world transforming over the next few years, and how do you set your PwC up for success?
So I think the concept of people doing sales within professional services will become more and more. I think, at the moment, you've got a lot of professional services, particularly in the legal world, have big marketing teams, business development teams, not that many sales. And I think the concept that a sales professional will be talking to the client, bringing the entire firm with them, I think the dynamic will shift more towards that and allowing, the rest of the partnership to deliver on those. I think there's always going to be an element that the partnership will also be client facing, and I don't think that's going anywhere. But I think comfort with the fact that professionalizing the sales aspect and what they do and how they do it, I think that will shift. So I think there's the concept that in professional services, people train to be a lawyer, an accountant, a consultant, and that's where their benefits to their clients come from, the fact that their knowledge of what they've picked up, their experience. So the idea that, they then have to do sales, I think from a traditional point of view, they automatically think of that, Wolf of Wall Street kind of thing, which I don't think is right. After I present that one slide and they give me all the negativity, which I do on purpose to get out of the system, my reply is, when I think of sales, I think of profitability. Anyone could give something away, giving a client a need they didn't really think they had, and then solving that solution for them.
I think you're onto something there, and I think what's become clear to us is that for most people, sales is about solving problems.
Right.
Understanding what you're trying to solve for, and being able to help the client find the right solution. And I think that's become something people see more and more, which is changing not only the perspective of sales, but also what great sales looks like.
The biggest difference recently, probably in the last 3 to 5 years, have been how you're not selling to one person anymore, in my eyes. It used to be that you'd have a request for a quote, information, a proposal. You make the sale and you have a relationship. For me now, you have to have a relationship first before getting that request for a proposal, whatever it is, and then make the sale. So it's flipped slightly. And it used to be more about one-on-one. So, you are buying, I am selling, we'd have an interaction. Now it's you plus your colleague plus the other department plus another department. And I think people are buying more complex product services, and therefore the process is more complex. A lot of it is asking questions and understanding, right? So, you have to have that relationship, and once you become that trusted person with that one relationship, you can ask the questions, who else is involved in this process? What are the decision makers? Who else can we meet? Who else do we need to bring? It's not just a one-way piece. What do you need to see? And I think asking those questions really helps you identify what the process really is and who's really involved behind it. And then, so you have to expand.
So I think it's probably an understatement to say that technology is transforming how we do our jobs in sales. How does technology support you as a salesperson?
Let's talk about the big thing at the moment then, which is AI. If we focus a little bit on that, I think that's going to be really interesting. And it really depends how it's being used. But I think it can, from a completely blue sky way of thinking, it can be transformative. It can deliver efficiencies, which mean that you can focus your time doing something else. Be it you are writing a proposal and it gives you a first draft. You are responding to a client email and it gives you, you're writing follow-up notes and it gives you that first draft. And I just think technology like that will really help, because then you can focus on your uniqueness, your differentiators, and spend less time on everything else. The next question is there anything else? Can you use it internally for anything else aside from that speed of response, which I think is massive. But you want to be able to, I've seen when you're on a phone call, depending what someone says, AI prompts you and says, talk to them about this area, they've mentioned this, talk to them about that. You can start to see snippets of, how the software is going to impact what you do on a day-to-day. And end of the day, what you want is, you want to spend more time from a purely sales point of view in front of clients, talking to them, understanding your first question, who do I need to meet? How do I need to meet them? Who else is involved, etc. So if you've got systems, processes, etc., using AI that enables that, that's where you want to, you want them to spend your time on that, so you can focus on the other area.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I think a lot of people use the analogy as AI as an assistant. I think probably a more appropriate term is like a team, right? It's your assistant, it's your coach, it's your support staff, it's your partner. I think there's that role can play, or that tool can play so many different roles that enable a salesperson to do what is probably most important, which is develop a relationship, bring value to the customer. A risk, not just for AI as a tool, but almost any type of tool, is that it can be used in a way to augment you, make you better at what you do and deliver more value, but also can make you do things in a very shallow way.
Yeah.
Right. In a very non-personal way. And you choose as a salesperson how to use it.
And if you look at competitive advantage as the be all and end all, if everyone follows what AI gives you, there won't be a competitive advantage. Everyone's just going to present the same thing.
And what gives you the competitive advantage then?
Your angle, what you put into it, your twist. If I'm reading something, can I hear Rob when I read it? Can someone picks up on the way I send a message or a colleague sends a message, we put the proposals together, etc. The way we discuss, bring yourself to the client every time. And as I said, it's just a starting point. It's such an important piece that when you're trying to build your network, build client relationships, that trust is there and people know, where this is coming from.
What wisdom have you learned from your experience in being a trusted partner or a trusted advisor to your clients?
Always listen. You've got the old saying, you've got 2 ears, 1 mouth, use it in that order. You want to try and understand what they're saying, invest time in them. What are they working on? What's keeping them up at night? Do your research. Tools like LinkedIn are really beneficial because you can see what they're posting. So if you see what they're posting, you can understand what they're like, what they don't like, what they're into, what they're commenting about. So you've got a starting point that you can talk to them about. So really invest in them and what they're doing. They will then buy into you. They'll understand the way you work as well. And if you marry that together, then you start building the trust and they start opening their world to you. So that's what you want.
So let's finish up our conversation with what we ask everybody. So what is that one piece of advice or 2 pieces of advice that you can think of that is crucial from your experience in the sales space?
Yeah, I'm going to be cheeky and
go for the 2.
Go for the 2 because you're giving me the options. So I think the first one, something I alluded to before, but I'll give you the full quote this time, which is a former ice hockey player called Wayne Gretzky, who says, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So go for it. Otherwise, you'll never know. And the other piece, which was something a bit of advice I was given as well, is it's easier to beg for forgiveness than ask permission. And it's sort of linked. You want to be able to give it a go. And if it backfires, put your hand up. And if I can have a third, be obsessive about the follow-up. If you're talking to a client, be really obsessive about how quickly you go back to them and say, this is what I heard, is this right? You asked for this, here it is. And just keep that interaction as many times as possible.
No, it's great pieces of advice, and I couldn't agree more. I think when people are earlier in their career, sometimes they just hesitate a little around that. And I think if you have real belief in the value that you bring to your clients, to your partners, to your colleagues, you'll never hesitate.
Yeah, and you learn from your mistakes.